to Satsang. If we were given the opportunity to be happy all of the time, should we take it? Of course. You know, the point of spiritual practice that brings us closer and closer to truth is to experience joy. Ultimately, what do any of us really want in life? We want to be happy. If you go around and I say, all right, tell me your goals. Some of you may have goals that say, I want to become the CEO of a company. Somebody may have a goal that says, I want to lose 10 pounds. Somebody may have a goal that says, I want to make this much money, or I want to help this many people, or be of service in this way, or I want to get married and have these children, or whatever goal we may set for ourselves. Ultimately, if you look at why you want it, at the end of the day, it's so I can be happy. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually really kind of a tragedy that we feel embarrassed. When you say that the bottom line of all of our goals, even if they seem selfless, even if they seem altruistic, the bottom line is so that I'll be happy. And there is nothing to be embarrassed about by that. Happiness is actually our birthright. It's our nature. But it's important to be honest with yourself and realize whatever I'm doing, whatever goal I have, I've made that a goal because I believe, whether it's true or not, but I believe that once I accomplish that goal, I will be happy. Whether I will be happy because I will have more money and be able to buy more things, and I think that things make me happy, or whether I think that power is going to make me happy, that getting people's respect will make me happy. Whether it's because I think that having a spouse and having kids and having that kind of family life will make me happy. Or whether it's because I've experienced that when I give to others, I feel happy. Whatever it is, at the end of the day, whatever my goal is, it's so that I will feel happy. People say to me sometimes, God, you left everything back there in America and you came to India, and how did you leave everything? And it's a really skewed and quite incorrect way of looking at things, and I'm always sure to point this out politely, of course, but to point it out because this idea that somehow leaving what you could consider a world of material prosperity for a world of spiritual prosperity, the idea that somehow that's a great sacrifice and that I've left everything, and that there's something very noble about that I've somehow made a great sacrifice. And what I always tell people is, I actually made exactly the same choice everybody makes, which is, what package deal of life is most likely to give me the most happiness? It's not that I thought, oh, I'll have the most happiness in America, but I'm going to live in India anyway, just to be noble or just to sacrifice. It's that I looked around and realized this life, in its simplicity, in the opportunity to actually be of service to people, in the connection spiritually to God, to a community, actually makes me more happy, both on a minute-to-minute, hour-to-hour basis, as well as on a bigger picture level, than the life I came from in America, or the life that I continue to see when I go back and visit. So there's nothing to be embarrassed about or ashamed about in realizing that we make the choices we make because at the end of the day we think that they're the ones that are going to make us the most happy. So why would we not choose to be happy all the time, right? For those of you who just came in, the question was, if we were given the opportunity to be happy all of the time, should we take it? And I said, of course. Now, spiritually, when we talk about equanimity and this way of approaching and dealing with the ups and downs of life, it doesn't mean seek them out. It doesn't mean give up what makes you happy and be miserable on purpose. Life is up and down. The only way to actually be happy all the time is through a spiritual practice of cultivating equanimity. There's no other magic wand. No matter what you dedicate yourself to, if it's something in the outer world, what you look like, how much money you make, how good your career is, how popular you are, whatever it may be, it's going to go up and down. There are going to be moments of sadness, of despair, of anger, of frustration, of jealousy, of competition. The only way to actually be happy all the time is to cultivate this equanimity which says, whatever arises, I'm going to see it with the same eyes. In the same way that we can walk through, for example, a flower garden and see roses and see jasmine and see gardenias and see sunflowers, and maybe you like the roses the best or the jasmine the best. But that doesn't mean that you're unable to appreciate the other flowers. It doesn't mean that you're going to wish that the rose were like a jasmine. Or, you walk down the fruit aisle of a grocery store, or you walk through a fruit orchard, and you see bananas, and you see oranges, and you see apples, and you would never say, my God, why can't this banana be juicy like an orange? It's a bad banana because it's not juicy. You understand that bananas aren't juicy by nature. Oranges are juicy by nature. And you may have a preference for one over the other, but you're able to see them all in their own divine perfection as they are. And so the only way to actually be happy all the time is to develop that ability to see life like that. I may prefer success over failure. I may prefer pleasure over pain, gain over loss, health over sickness. But to be able to see all of them as just different varieties of flowers in the garden of my life, each there to offer me something. So, yeah, if you're offered, if you've got the opportunity to be happy all the time, absolutely take it. And you do have that opportunity. Not by denying the sad moments of life. Real joy, real happiness is not superficial. It's not about denial or repression or suppression. It's about being able to, even in the face of loss or failure or illness, to be able to see that presence of the divine in all, to see that presence of your opportunity to get closer to the divine in all. There's a reason that we talk about a dark night of the soul rather than a bright morning of the soul, right? Because when we go through these spiritual experiences, they tend to happen a lot more in dark nights than in bright mornings. So if you've got a bright morning, you love it and see it and appreciate it and enjoy it for the beautiful bright morning it is. And when you've got a dark night, you see it for the opportunity to connect with the soul, to go deeper, to go within, to find the light within. You know, here in India, we worship, we celebrate full moons, the Purnima, but we also celebrate the new moon, the Amavasya. And it's really interesting because you think, well, why in the world would you celebrate a dark night, a moonless night? The biggest celebration of the year, Diwali, the festival of lights, falls on Amavasya, the new moon. No moon in the sky. And it's the festival of light. Because it's a teaching that even in the darkness of the darkest night, there is light. But that light is inside. That light is in connecting to the divine. So the magic wand for happiness is not there only should be full moons in my life. It's that when there's a full moon, I'm able to appreciate the light coming from outside. And when there's a moonless night, a dark night, I'm able to find the light from within. That's the magic wand. It's the only way. So, yes, when you have the opportunity, you should choose it. And yes, we all have the opportunity all the time. In every moment, we can choose joy. Not by denial, not by suppression, as I said, but simply by recognizing, is this a moment to find joy in the moon shining overhead? Or is it a moment to look for the joy in the moon shining inside? But the opportunity is always there. Other questions? Any questions that anyone here has? Yes.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. It's beautiful.
If you hold it up a little more, then everyone can hear.
Is it fine? Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. It's beautiful. So I have two questions. One, as you were sharing in the Aarti that you always have to ask yourself, what's through me, not what's for me. Right. So were you talking about the purpose we have here? And the second question is, sometimes I get confused that either I'm aligned with my purpose, or either I'm following my purpose or not. Sometimes it feels that I'm following my purpose here, and sometimes it feels I'm not. So how do we know that we are aligned with our purpose?
Beautiful.
Thank you.
So, what threw me? This is what I was speaking about in the Ganga Arati, that one of the most powerful lessons that I've learned here in India, a lesson for life in terms of living what you would call a good life or a spiritual life, but also a lesson for happiness, for living a life that actually brings minute-to-minute joy, is to shift the question from what for me to what through me. For the first 25 years of my life growing up in America, most of what I found myself asking was, what for me? Not that I was a selfish person. My parents were very, very generous people, very giving people, very charitably inclined people. But in the big picture of things, the question was always, what for me? As in, if I'm going to make any decision, if I'm going to plan my day, if I'm going to plan the next month, whatever I'm going to choose, if I'm going to weigh different options, the choice always centers around what's in it for me. What's better for me? To do it or not do it? Which is going to be better for me? And I learned when I came here that actually the question for life is not what for me, but what through me. If instead of being concerned about what I'm going to get in a situation, I can actually look for how in this moment can the divine flow through me? So what does this moment want from me? There's a beautiful prayer by St. Francis of Assisi in which he says, "O Lord, make me an instrument of thy grace, of thy mercy. Where there is," and I'm paraphrasing, I'll memorize the whole prayer at some point, but where there is light, where there is darkness, let me bring light. Where there is despair, let me bring hope. Where there is injury, let me bring pardon. Let me essentially be the one who brings your grace, your mercy, your love, your peace to every moment. In Hinduism, we speak about nimitta matram bhav, that feeling of being an instrument in God's hands. It's the same thing. How can I be an instrument? And so it's a moment-to-moment question. Literally, you ask yourself. Yes, it's a life philosophy, but it's also literally a guiding question in every moment. Whenever you find yourself asking, what to do? What to do tonight? What to do in this moment? What to say to this person? Ask yourself, what through me? How can I, in this moment, be an instrument of light, of love, of healing, of help? If God, by however I conceive of the divine, whatever religion, whatever walk of life, whatever tradition, it doesn't matter. But if however I conceive of divine spirit were to actually manifest right here in front of me, What would God do here in this moment? And how can I be a channel for that? How can I realize that God is here in this moment, flowing through me? So that's the question. And it really is a minute-to-minute, moment-to-moment, just life philosophy. Here is how you can move through the world. Here is what you can think about. Here is how you can make decisions. I mean, rather than flipping a coin, heads or tails, or eeny, meeny, miny, mo, I mean, how do we make decisions? Well, here's a beautiful way to make a decision. What through me? And then her second question was about how do you know if you're actually aligned with your purpose? If you've ever tried to grow something, a flower, a tree, herbs, whatever it may be, you put them where you think they're going to get the best light, and you water them in the way you think they should be watered. And if they grow and they blossom, you know they're in the right spot. You know you're giving them enough water. You know they're getting the right amount of sun. But if they start to wilt and die, or they don't blossom, you know there's a problem. And once you've eliminated the possibility that the problem is in the seed, you realize, oh, maybe I should move it. Maybe it's getting too much sun. Let me give it a little less. Maybe it's not getting enough. Let me give it more. Maybe I'm overwatering it. Maybe I'm underwatering it. Maybe I'm not singing to it enough. Right? But you realize you've got this gardening thing down when your fruit trees give you fruit, when your flowers are blossoming. And the same thing is true in our life, is you realize that you are in alignment with your purpose when you are blossoming. Not when things around you are blossoming, because we have no control over that. I can be totally in alignment with my purpose and my dharma. And that doesn't mean that people around me are necessarily going to appreciate it, agree with it, follow it. But if I am blossoming as a being, if I find that I am angry a lot less, losing my temper less, able to love more, able to be more patient, able to smile and laugh more, if I find that I wake up with gratitude rather than with, oh God, another day, these are all signs that you're on the right path. Are you giving fragrance to the world? Are you blossoming? And so that's really how you know, going back to my moon discussion of the earlier question, I take a really powerful teaching from the moon because about our purpose. Because if you look at the moon, so the moon never actually changes shape, right? It's not like it actually goes from being round to being a crescent to disappearing completely. The moon's shape is always the same. What happens, what changes is that this round, essentially round piece of rock floating in the atmosphere that has no light of its own, but simply has the possibility, the potential to reflect the light of the sun onto the earth. She moves in and out of alignment in her orbit around the earth. When she's in what you could call perfect alignment, We could call that a full moon. She's able, with every square inch of her being, to reflect light onto the earth. All of her is being used as an instrument of light. On a new moon day, you could say she's gone out of alignment. She's not able to reflect that light onto the earth. So in our lives, if you feel like you are able to reflect God's light, the light of the divine, onto the world around you, again, regardless of actually how people take it or what happens, but if you feel like you're able to reflect divine light around you, you're in alignment. And if you feel like you just are not able, that somehow that light that you want to share with the world, that love that you want to share with the world, you're not able to. Well, instead of feeling horrible about yourself, instead of berating yourself, or thinking that you've got to somehow go out and do something to have light, realize you've just got to get back in alignment. You've got that ability. You just need to get back in alignment with the divine. Because just like the moon doesn't actually have any light of her own, but she reflects this beautiful light of the sun, in the same way, we are these beautiful reflectors of divine light. And so if you feel like you're not able to do that, just get back in alignment. How can you realign yourself with that light of the divine? Through prayer, through chanting, through seva, service, through so many ways. Beautiful. Of course. Any other questions? Yes.
Pranam Mata. So in our life, there are certain situations and certain decisions that we have, and they have such a frequency or such an impact on our life, and sometimes it becomes really difficult to decide upon a thing, whether we should go on this side or that side, and we end up in making bad decisions. So what would be the right way? There are two options: either we follow our heart or we follow the logic. So what would be the best way to make a decision that actually is the correct one?
So the heart-mind debate, what do we listen to? How do we make the decision? Now, first of all, he said either we listen to our heart or we follow logic. The heart is not by nature illogical. And it's actually not heart and mind. It's actually mind versus intuition. And I use intuition instead of heart because when a lot of us think about heart, we actually mean emotions. If I say to you, tell me about your heart-mind debate, you may say, well, my mind says that I should stay here and finish school. I'm in the middle of getting my college degree. My mind says I should finish my college degree. My heart says I should follow my girlfriend, boyfriend, off on a road trip around the world. Okay? Now, you could call that an emotional decision. Right? The mind, the logic says, you should finish. What we call the heart, but in this case it's really just emotions. It's a sense of attachment, it's a sense of excitement, it's a sense of not wanting to finish your school, being bored by it, whatever it may be. But it actually still falls in the category of mind. It's just two different aspects of mind. It's more of what you could think of as indoctrinated, logical mind versus emotional mind. But they're actually both mind. The other alternative is what we call intuition. And you may feel it in your heart, at which point that's great. But we just have to be clear that when we say heart, we don't mean the ups and downs of every feeling state. I love him. I hate him. I love him. I hate him. Right? I mean, we go through this growing up all the time. Oh, I love him. He's my soulmate. I'm going to marry him. I hate him. He was talking to another girl. I love him. He's my soulmate. I hate him. He forgot my birthday. Now, there's no intuition here. There's no real heart here. There's mind. There's the fluctuation of the mind between attachment and desire and jealousy, and they're all just different qualities of mind. None of them is something we should listen to. The intuitive heart is actually what we should listen to. And the way to know that what you're listening to is intuitive heart rather than emotional fluctuations is, first of all, it feels a lot deeper. If you tune in meditation, it feels much deeper and core. If you ask yourself, where do I feel this? This idea I have, this instinct I have, this intuition I have, where do I feel it? And most of what we feel in our head. Both the desire as well as the aversion, what we call love and hate, but are just desire or aversion. The real deep, intuitive heart, we feel it in the body much deeper. You feel it in your heart chakra. But you even feel it here, you feel it here. You may feel it here in the third eye. It has a stable quality to it, whereas the emotions tend to fluctuate. There tends to be a constant movement of the emotions and of the mind, back and forth, back and forth. That's why we say my mind is, spinning in circles, jumping all over the place, the monkey mind. There's a frenetic quality to it. Whereas the intuitive knowing feels a lot stiller, a lot more calm. It doesn't change. The mind changes. You should do it, you shouldn't do it, you should do it, you shouldn't do it. What's this person going to say? Oh my God, what am I going to lose? But what about this and what about that? That's the frenetic nature of the mind. Both sides of the argument are both mind. Don't kid yourself that you're actually arguing mind-heart. You're just arguing different voices in the mind. Sense of intuition doesn't really engage in arguments. It's just that awareness that knows. So when you're looking to make a decision, go deep. If it's really true, it's going to be true tomorrow as well. If it's only true in this moment, chances are it's much more impulse desire, frenetic energy. Think about your sight. Desire tends to narrow our sight, whereas intuition tends to expand it. There's a sense of expansion when we're actually connected to truth, knowing, wisdom, whereas there's, there's a sense of contraction. Gotta have it, gotta do it now. If you don't do it, oh my God, it's a one-day only sale. You better buy it right now. If you don't click here right now, it's going to be over. Right? It's a sense of contraction. Real wisdom is a sense of expansion. So when you think about the decisions you're going to make, see whether is there a quality of contraction or is there a quality of expansion? And by the way, intuition does not go against logic. Many times it's right in alignment with logic. What it goes against frequently is fear, desire, programming, indoctrination, false self, false patterns of thought. So it's not actually going against reason. It's going actually against ignorance, but ignorance that we've become so used to that we think it's truth. So let yourself really meditate on it. Yeah. Beautiful. Any other questions? Yes.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
My question, Sadhviji, is about, there's a lot of news going on right now about some spiritual leaders who have siddhis and they're really promoting Sanatana Dharma and going all out, as you can say, to show the power of God's name, whether that's Krishna, whether that's Hanumanji. There's a lot of people going against that, saying that that's magic, that's not true. They're really trying to bring it down, and that's happened in history where Sanatana Dharma has gone down so much. So do you think that it's important that in addition to spiritual leaders, we also should do our part to promote Sanatana Dharma, and even if that's going public about it, do you think that's right?
Even if it's going?
Public about that.
Got it. So, remember that Sanatana Dharma is not a proselytizing religion. Never has been. It's not a religion about going out and converting people. Here, people come to India, come to the banks of Ganga, come to beautiful ashrams, take part in arati, take part in yagna, take part in satsang, do yoga, learn meditation, get Ayurvedic treatments. All of these things that are part of Sanatana Dharma. And yet there's no aspect about it that says, well, in order to really benefit from this yoga or from this meditation or from Ayurveda or from this, you need to stop being whatever religion you are and you need to become a Hindu. Sanatana Dharma is for everybody. Whatever people's religion may be. Pujya Swamiji always says, this culture, these teachings, if you are Christian, they make you a better Christian. If you're Jewish, they make you a better Jew. If you are Muslim, they make you a better Muslim. They make you a better person. regardless of what your religion is. They're not about changing your religion. And I mention this in the beginning because I think it's important to realize that our Dharma is not something that needs us to promote it in a way that would start to look like we were proselytizing. It's not about that. The truth is a magnet. Remember that. Truth is a magnet. You don't actually have to shove it down people's throats. You just have to live the truth. And it will actually attract people. Maybe not immediately. Maybe not today. But the truth as a magnet attracts people. And so what I would say is we absolutely need to stand up for what we know to be true. And so if someone or people are spreading not only incorrect but defamatory lies about something we know to be true, absolutely we need to stand up for it, whatever it may be. People who are spreading hatred, people who are spreading othering and polarization, and absolutely we need to stand up. If someone is defaming, harming, in action, in word, you, your family, your culture, your religion, your race, your color, your sexual orientation, whatever it may be, we absolutely need to have the courage to stand up and to speak our truth. And in the example that you've given in terms of what's happening now, as has happened for thousands of years, people spreading untruths about Sanatan Dharma, absolutely we need to stand up. Absolutely we need to speak the truth, especially youngsters like yourself. Because if only lies are what gets spread, then the lies become truth. But there's a big difference between speaking truth, living truth, honoring truth, and trying to promote, proselytize, convert, market. You don't want to cheapen the Dharma. So we need to be careful to, on the one hand, recognize the power of the Dharma itself, the power of the truth itself as a magnet, and not cheapen it by turning it into something that needs us to promote it, market it, while simultaneously ensuring that we are standing up for that which we know to be true. Speaking our truth, sharing our truth, ensuring that people have access to truth. And again, especially the youth. I think it's a beautiful role that you play. Because of course, Sanatan Dharma it's not a dogma. It's much more than a religion. It's not about a religion. It's about a way of life. And it's about a way of life that is rooted and anchored in nonviolence, truthfulness, sharing, giving. The world being one family, union, togetherness, oneness. And this is what our world needs. the teachings of Sanatan Dharma, the insights, the truths of Sanatan Dharma are not only for Hindus, they are for everyone. And so, yeah, it is really important to share these truths, while we also make sure that we realize that there is a power in that truth. And it is a power that is eternal. Sanatan. And so there's nothing anyone can say or do that would make the Dharma be anything other than Sanatan. Beautiful. Beautiful question and beautiful work you're doing to share that truth. Wonderful. Have a beautiful, beautiful night. A beautiful day to our family joining us from all over the world. And so much love to all of you.